My talk today is to give you a sense of how important is social media in today's interaction, and how you can actually use social media, in particular Twitter, to boost or to promote the results of your projects. And I also want to share some of the interesting facts that makes Indonesia, in fact, now is the prime place for social media, so-called science. Next, please. Now, so when you want to start your own account on social media, here are the 5 cardinal rules that you need to think of when you work on an organization. You need to get on participation from your followers, connection. You need to build a conversation. You want to have a community, and from then on, you have a target positioning. Next. Just briefly, I'll just give you the background. These are the top 6 popular social media. And then each social media has its own sort of characters. I know someone who's on Pinterest, right? Pinterest, mostly, a lot of women like Pinterest. It's like a scrapbook online. Right? So these are just some of the examples of the top 6 social media and the characteristics of its users. Right? And from this, you can decide which one that suits best for your organization. For today's exercise, I particularly choose Twitter because Twitter, I feel, has the most sort of all-around appeal. Right? Next. Basically, now we're gonna move into how do you write social media. From this on, I'm gonna start concentrating on how we engage and how we write on Twitter. And from this end, I'm gonna show you some of the examples of some of the best tweets that can work, and also I'm gonna show you some of the worst mistakes that we've done. When I say we, the UN. Okay? So, next. I mean, it's simple. For a tweet, 1 key message per tweet, no sentence with multiple commas, and no jargon. Okay? Some of you, a lot of you actually don't have a Twitter account. So you might be asking, okay, what is a tweet? Right? Next. Well, what is a tweet? You blurt, you announce, you say something with a maximum of 140 characters, right? This is an example of a tweet. For those of you who already have a Twitter account, I want you to open up now to get onto your smartphones and your laptops, because we're going to have some exercise. So, for those of you who don't know, what is this? What is Party? What is that? What is this? I'll explain to you as we go along. Next. Now, if you want to get the most engagement, if you want to get the most interaction, we found that 50% of the content that attract the most likes, the most shares, and the most comment is a content that invites conversation with picture. This is a tweet from Maya Farrow, right? It gets, as of today, it gets retweeted 395 retweets. Simple, saddest photo, 4-year-old Syrian boy. If you look at the interaction, it goes viral. A lot of people want to get to the conversation. The key of the success is a powerful image, simple message, a simple message that invites conversation. Here, you see the tweets. Means that the number of your people who distribute the news to their networks. Favorites means that You don't have to retweet it, you don't have to tell it to your followers, but you mark it. As you can see, there's almost 700 engagement there, simply because of a what you call that? Simple message with a powerful image. Next, if you ask questions, ask a simple question. Did you know 100,000 residents benefited from houses built under UNDP support? People like to engage on that kind of a question that gives knowledge. This particular tweet, for instance, was retweeted by Helen Clark because you have the imagery, strong image, you have facts, and then the hashtag gives you the context. I'll tell you more about hashtags later, but this is what it is about. Did you know 100,000? And it gives you the context. We're talking about tsunami 10 years. Next. Now, this is a post that we took from Facebook. This post has a picture. It reached 400 people. This post has no picture. 50 people. So you see how the power of images and video. People love images, infographics. If you share a strong image in your message, if you share a strong graphic in your message, it bound to reach more people. So even though, like, if you look at the message here, the message is, if you compare this to that, the message is just, in terms of interestingness, it's just the same. But if you put a picture there, it will attract more, what you call that, audience. Next, people love facts. Here, we created an infographic between 2013, almost more than 180,000 people are dead, are killed by natural disasters in Indonesia. And that got people's attention. Here you have, this is not, by the way, I would admit, this is not an ideal sort of infographic, because already here you have so many figures. I believe maybe we put 2 figures or 3 figures. But the idea here is, when you share people with interesting facts and numbers, that will get people's attention. For example, let's talk about real project. Let's talk about, say, green economy model project. You think about, is there an interesting figure that I can share? You know, I remember that in one of the findings is 76% of the rural poor in central Kalimantan, their livelihood depends on forests. That's a figure that people don't know. You can share that fact to your followers, and you put a hashtag of your, for example, your project, or a hashtag of green economy, for instance. This tweet was sent out during the World Conference of Natural Disasters. This is an example of how we wanted to be part of the global event. So when we know, for example, if your project, say, in women's empowerment, and you know that there's going to be a world conference, say, on women's participation, say, in some countries, then you think about the interesting figures of your project and you type in, you want to become part of the global conversations. UNDP in Indonesia wanted to become part of the global conversation. We know that at that time, Sentai, WCDRR, were the hashtags of the moment at that time. And then we look at our works. Let's look at our works in DRR. And we thought, oh, why not share some interesting facts about disaster and its aftermath in Indonesia? And we tied into this, what they call it, to the world event that was unfolding. As a result, some of the key influencers retweeted the facts that we sent out. Next. This is the same. This is a combination of questions and also a fact. Did you know that 50 million Indonesians their livelihood depends on the forest. And we tweet, UNDP Indonesia tweet in English and in Indonesian. Okay, because we do know we have followers in international followers and also Indonesian followers. So we make a point that we have whatever we tweet in English, we always tweet it in Bahasa Indonesia. Actually, there are more Indonesian speaker Twitter followers in our Twitter account, which is why sometimes we make it more priority to tweet in Bahasa Indonesia. Next. A call from, this is an example. You can actually share a link to the speech. This is Helen Clark. After delivering her speech in Kuwait recently, she gave a link of her speech. But if you look at the percentage, company profile and speech, they get the least amount of share or retweeted. Only 20%. The bulk are interesting facts, imagery, pictures, questions. So I think the key is when you work in an organization that oversees a Twitter account, you need to have a good balance of corporate tweet, so-called corporate tweet, and also have some interesting facts, have some interesting pictures that you want to tell your followers. Next. Now, Fania,
yeah.
I want you to just to do
Okay.
the do's and the don'ts of Twitter. Some of you might wonder, okay, can I tweet this? Can I tweet that? Can I post this on social media? The headquarters has made this step-by-step sort of self-censorship, and that should help you to decide what to tweet and what to retweet, for instance. One thing that I want you to remember is whatever you write, whatever you say on social media, on Twitter or on Facebook, there is never what you call that, going back. Whatever you say, it stays there in the universe, and you can always delete it, but it will stay there forever. Which is why I'm going to show you, right, the importance of proofreading. Have a look at this. On Day of Solidarity with Palestinians, Ban Ki-moon stresses urgency of reaching one-state solution. Two-state solution, not one-state solution. So that is a extremely, I can't even emphasize how erroneous that tweet is. The UN supports one-state solution for Palestinian and Israeli conflict. The tweet came out from the UN official account. So, proofreading. Remember, when you tweet, you're not a journalist. It's okay to be late. You're not expected to be the first or to be the first to tell the whole world. You know, especially if you only have 15 followers, you know, why have the urgency to send some to be the first, you know? I mean, I can understand that in some cases people have instant urgency to send it out. For instance, you walk up the streets of Tamrin and you see the building on fire and you straight away, oh, you know, fire on Tamrin, but hold back first, you know? You need to, okay, you see it yourself, the fire, but you know, you make sure that you verify the name of the building, because as I said, you're not a journalist. It's okay not to be the first. You know, if you say that, if you see Pacific hotel in fire and then you tweet, oh, Sarina is on fire, you know, you're already doing yourself a bad favor for everyone, right? So, proofreading, always reread what you type. And as for the more detailed guidelines, it's in the handouts that I'm giving you. It has a more sort of detailed guidelines. What are the do's and the don'ts? Next. Another example. Oh, sorry, go back. This is just an example of tweet of a budget site. When you send a picture, of course, you need to keep in mind, not just, it's all comes down to common sense, right? You don't want to post pictures of graphic violence, for instance. I mean, in this particular case, it's not just about graphic violence, but it's also the political alliance of that particular UN staff that sends out the tweet. So, and for more detail, again, it's in the handout. You ask yourself, okay, is this biased? Is this against what we stand for? Now, next. This is an example of how you can put a theme of your tweet. You don't have to follow it, but this is the UNDP Indonesia one. For example, a project of women's empowerment, LACB. What other projects are there? Oh, IDI. Your project is the Indonesian Democracy Index. You look at UNDP Indonesia's topic of the day, then you look, okay, I can actually go into Progress Tuesday. So for Progress Tuesday, you talk about, say for instance, did you know that a third of Indonesian provinces are now using Indonesian Democracy Index? And then you ask a question, did you know what the Indonesian Index is? Do you think, you ask a simple question, do you think we can measure democracy? And then you say, well, UNDP has a scientific tool that can actually measure the progress. And then you say, did you know, or you go, did you know that Jakarta has been the top performer of the country's country's leading democracy index. So that because you engage, you want to ask them questions, and then that's an opportunity to talk about the results of your project. In this case, IDI. IDI is supported by UNDP Indonesia. Next. Because as Helen Clark often said, being active means communicating the important work of your organization. We have a lot to communicate, which is why we are on tweet diplomacy. Helen Clark is a believer of Twitter. Not only we follow wherever she goes, but not just the schedule and also the routines, but also the interesting thing about her tweet is, she retweets about news that appeals to her stance, to her concerns. And I think she's very good at achieving that nice balance of a personal sort of insight and also being corporate. For instance, on New Year's Day 2014, she actually posted a picture of New York in snow from her office, and she said, "Look, guys, New York in snow." That kind of, you get that balance, then your followers think, oh, actually, Helen Clark is a person, because now I get this sort of personal sort of touch of the tweet, but not too personal, but something that's still acceptable within the public realm. A picture of New York in snow as seen from her office. Next. Now, at this point, I'm a little bit concerned because I know some of you don't even have a Twitter, but I feel that I need to go through some of the, some of the quotes in the Twitter line. So, at this point, I feel that maybe I'm giving you too much information already, but these things is necessary because, like for example, on hashtags, you see a lot of that on the tweets, right? What is hashtag? You normally put that. Basically, a hashtag is like, it's your tag. In the real life, you have a tag, then people know if you have an electronic tag in your body, then people will know where you are. Same goes with the Twitter. If you wear a wristband, right, with a tag, then the authorities will know who you are, right? So it's like the big brother's watching you. In this case, the big brother is watching what you tweet in a good way. So that when there is a trend, and then you want to put a hashtag so because you want to get picked up. Say the trend from now is green economy or something, then you put a hashtag green economy so that your tweet becomes picked up by other followers. So as I say, you can put it on the special day. Like for example, today I used a hashtag of World Autism Day. This morning I tweeted two things. I said today I sent one on World Autism Day, and then here's the link for you to find out the facts and the facts about autism, and also send a tweet about early intervention can help autism, and then also and again send the link and also the hashtag World Autism Day. And no more than 2 hashtags per tweet, but that is relative. I personally would like to use just 1 hashtag. Okay, but yeah, but no more than 2. Yes, go ahead.
How do you know which is the popular hashtag? So if you're wanting to talk about autism today, how do you know it's World Autism Day versus Autism Day versus autism?
Yes. Yeah. Like this morning, the way I found out is on the desktop. Normally, you have the what is the popular tweets trend at the moment. In my case this morning, I happen to know in advance that today is the World Autism Day. So from my smartphone, all I do, I just put hashtag, key in world, and already Twitter gives me the trend. So I just put world, and already it pops up World Day Autism, World Autism Day. So that's how I found out. Oh, so that's the most important. That's the most popular. What do you call that? Hashtag for Autism Day. So again, I'm gonna apologize if it becomes a bit too technical, but I think ideally this is the part where we're gonna do some exercises, because a lot of it makes more sense once you do it, once you actually type it. So next. Okay. Example of a hashtag. 6 months of Haiyan, right? So we put a hashtag of Haiyan, 6 months commemoration of Typhoon Haiyan in the Philippines. Right? So the tweet is about Helen Clark writing for Huffington Post. Right? So you hashtag Haiyan. On that particular day, May 11th, that marks 6 months of the Haiyan. So that's an example of uses of hashtags. Next, mentions. This is an example of how we, when Indonesia, mentions our donors. David Taylor, who was the New Zealand ambassador, I think. Yeah. So our project is about the Disaster Recovery Index, and it is supported by the New Zealand Embassy in Indonesia, the New Zealand Embassy. So when you talk about the results of your project, when you talk about the facts, the interesting facts of your project, it would be good to know. Actually, it's highly recommended for you to find out whether your donors or your partners are actually the Twitter. So this is an example of how we got the attention of David Taylor, because when we tweeted this, we mentioned New Zealand in Jakarta, and it's being retweeted by the ambassador himself. This is to tell him in person that, by the way, this index is now out. I mean, he already knows that, but he wants to tell this. We don't know. He has probably 2,000 followers who are probably back in New Zealand, right? So, do you see the correlations of the users? He tells his followers in New Zealand, and people in New Zealand think, oh great, now we are putting our money for a good use, because we're actually supporting Indonesia to have the world's only disaster recovery index. So this is, by the way, infographic. It's something that we can talk about separately, but we did mention the use of imagery, we did mention the use of graphic, right?
Sorry,
Yep.
how do you get this Twitter on his Twitter account? It's not clear.
Yes. Do you have a Twitter account? Okay. As I warned earlier, this is the part where it's going to make most sense when you have a Twitter account, right? I mentioned his name, right?
Okay.
So I mention his name, mentions A. So I say, I know, before I send the tweet, I know that David Taylor is on the Twitter. I'm like, I want to get his attention, right? So to get his attention, I have to tweet the results and also image. So I got his attention. He saw my tweet. He doesn't follow us, by the way. He didn't follow us when we tweeted this. So this is particular use of when he didn't follow us, he will know. So we, like in reality, like, imagine this is the part where what do you call that? Nudge you, right? You don't see me, but I poke you from behind. Hey, by the way, we have this. So in order to poke him, I mention him. Use his, what do you call that? Use his, Twitter address. And when he responds to our Twitter, we will get a notification, by the way.
So if I tweet to UNDP, for example, and use your Twitter as I link it to you, then UNDP knows that I have been linking my message to you. Is that a kind of rotation?
If you're tweeting from UNV, right, UNV Indonesia, and you want to mention UNDP Indonesia, I will know.
Okay.
I get notification.
Okay.
Yeah, because you nudge me, right?
Okay, so
In the online, you nudge me from behind, and I get notification. By the way, someone has nudged you.
Okay,
You know.
okay.
So,
yeah.
and then I will look at your tweet. Oh, by the way, okay, UNV.
Yeah.
Puspa.
Yeah. Thank you.
In Twitter, is there possible if I review first, if someone tags me, like just like in Facebook, like someone mentioned me in a tweet, but I'm not comfortable with the content or the message, and I need to review first before it is being posted. Is it possible in Twitter?
Okay, thanks for the question. You cannot stop someone from mentioning your name. But you have a choice not to distribute that to your followers. So, if I say to you, if I mention to you, I mention your name, I say, oh, by the way, the ECB, sucks big time to start. My followers can see, right? But you don't have to respond to what I say. You just don't, what I mention, your followers will not be able to see what I tweet. See what I mean? Unless your follower follow me too. Yeah? So if I say bad things about your project, we get a lot of mentions, we get a lot of criticism, but only us and their followers. So in your case, only you who can see what I say, because I mentioned you, right? So you are the principal owner of that name, get a notification of my bad mouthing, right? But your followers, your 3,000 followers will not be able to see what I tweet, unless of course your follower follows me, or they go to my account and they see the timeline. But that's not a practice in the Twitter world. People don't have time to say, for example, I don't follow. I only go to a particular profile if there's a particular interest. If I'm already interested, I will follow the person. For example, I will only follow Grace's Twitter account. I will go to your profile if I want to see what did you say last week. Yeah, as you said, if you're a stalker, yes, you go particularly. But does that make sense to you? Yeah, because in the Twitter, you can only see what I tweet if you follow me. That's as simple as that. I think you get what I mean, right? But I think the message that I was trying to get here is the impact of making the right mentions. See what I mean? Because the impact is actually bigger than you think. You know, in this particular case, by mentioning the right people that is relevant to your project, you can actually boost the message to that person's followers. As I said, David Tell, I think he has quite a number of followers, and not just a number, but also quite influencers in his list. Next. This is an example of retweets. For those of you who are already on Twitter, you would know, but I will tell you some of there are many ways of retweet. For example, you can simply retweet, or you can quote a tweet. When you quote a tweet, your own profile will stay. So you will still get that recognition, the brand recognition. Or you can do what some people do is MT, which is modified tweet. That happens, for example, if Helen Clark tweets something that is important but quite long, and you want your profile to appear, you put you put what is called MT. Can we do some examples? This is reply, yeah. The good thing, as I said, social media is about interaction. This is the platforms where you can actually interact in person, right? So in Twitter, you can reply to someone's tweet. You can, if you could mention. So that's just an example, yeah. Can only be seen by that side. Follow both of you. So if I reply to Helen Clark in Indonesia, our conversation can only be seen by followers of Helen Clark and Unity Indonesia. The timelines that I showed you before, yeah. So, next. In the beginning, I mentioned Twitter has 140 characters limit. Shorter is better. Look at this. Each time, vote in the. Simple as that. And that already gets the message out. Don't need some UN technical, the message is you want people to vote online, which is the My World vote. It's time, vote. Simple as that. So, next. Now, if you have articles, say on PTDD, I know there's quite a number of articles on peace and conflict development, and also links on end peace. And you look at it, oh my God, it's too long. What you do is you shorten it, you go to BitLay and you shorten the link. That way, that allows your followers to retweet because, right? So, and it allows you to put more room to what you want to say. It's called BitLay. There's many other apps out there, but this is just one example. But the idea is if you want to put a link to an article or to a report, you can do that by shortening the, the internet page of that particular report. Yeah? Next. This is the part where you have to do an exercise, but I'm not sure whether, how many of you have Twitter now?
Can everybody raise their hand?
Yeah. If you can do this, create one tweet based on the key results. If it's IDI, you don't have a laptop with you. Create one tweet based on your result or your issue, and then in your tweet, I want you to use the image at the end and mention the name of your development. Now, of course, can you choose one project? Sustain. Yeah. But has it sustained not? No. No, we can't say that yet, can we? Say, for example, PTDD, Bumaya. If you were to do one tweet now, what would you say? Who is your partner? Who is your partner or donor? Pak Samsul. Yeah. Donor maybe? Donor? Who's your donor?
New Zealand.
New Zealand. New Zealand 8. New Zealand in Indonesia. Right? Mention that. And then your project is about
Peace building,
Social cohesion.
social cohesion, peace building. You want to tell your followers what your project is about, and you want to. The best way is you take thanks. Indonesia for supporting peace building in Indonesia at UNDP Indonesia. Thanks New Zealand Indonesia for supporting peace building, for supporting peace in the country at UNDP Indonesia. That's just one example. And then David Teller somewhere, I don't know where he is now, he'll look at it, "Ooh, okay, what are you talking about?" Okay, and then you can add second tweet about your project, anything. But yeah, you keep into mind to the principles before, which is one message. Okay.
Boss,
Yeah.
how many tweets per day for, like, for example, project management unit? How many tweets a day advisable for them?
Okay, for organization like UNDP Indonesia, of course we have a different purpose. We send tweets on average 10 tweets per day, because for us repetition of branding is important, right? But that's because we have so many projects that we want to communicate, right? And bear in mind, our followers, as I said, a lot of our followers, not only in Indonesia, but I found that a lot of our followers are also in the other part of the world, right? Sometimes we even repeated the tweets of similar content, so that followers in, say, in New York, when they wake up, they see what we tweet. Because when we tweet now, they're still asleep, the ones in New York, right? Now, as for the project, even though there's no rule of thumb, right? I mean, ideally, every day you should tweet 1 or 2. But whenever there is a big event such as launching of a project, or maybe you want to communicate with your donors even more, you should tweet even more, right? But again, as I said, for project, it really is, there is no rule of thumb, because you have to look at some kind of, what do you call that, a milestone. For example, if your project involves a green economy model, right? You probably want to tweet more of your project, say, on International Forest Day, right? No. Yep.
Do you have time to talk about live tweeting and what the difference between sending out multiple tweets in a day versus what Gina said with live tweet?
Live tweet. You can go to. It's actually not in my presentation, but I prepared. I'm sure a lot of you have public events going on coming up, right? Do you have any particular public event coming up?
There's a conference platform for philanthropy in 2 weeks' time, or like a week and a bit now.
About, sorry?
Sorry?
About our partnership, okay. The most important thing is when we talk about live event, the first step is agree on a hashtag first, okay? Agree on a hashtag, all right? And then second, there can only be one person who sends out from the official account, right? In this case, UNDP Indonesia, right? Go ahead.
Do you create a new account for the specific event, or
I wouldn't.
no? Okay.
In my case, I never create a specific account for a live event. I know that in UNDP, they have a separate account for live tweeting,
Oh, okay.
right? UNDP live tweeting. But for us, UNDP Indonesia, we don't have the capacity. We prefer to stick to one account. So whenever we have a live event, the most recent one, like for example, when Beato was speaking at the Economist conference back in February, we did a live tweet from the event. We don't. And last year, last year when we had the human development seminar, we did the tweets from the UNDP Indonesia account. So I mentioned about the hashtag, right? And also the keeping one person to send out that tweet. Now, if you are planning for a live tweet if you are open for live tweet for your event, it's important that you tell your audience in invitation or in the what do you call it? What's that word? In the calendar, right? That for those who want to tweet, please use this particular hashtag. You have no control of what's being tweeted, of course, or from everyone else.
And so we mentioned the hashtag that we'll be using,
Yeah.
as well as at UNDP Live? Or no?
No. No.
No, okay.
No. This is UNDP Live. This is the Twitter account.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we don't
We don't
mention
need them
UNDP
to
Live
follow
tweeting.
us?
No.
Okay.
No. Because when you mention UNDP Live tweeting, that Twitter account is not being manned 24 hours.
Okay.
So, do you know what I mean? By the time they look at your mention, you'll already be too late. It's no longer live, right?
Okay.
So, yeah. So keep in mind the hashtag of that particular event, having one official person who looks after the official account, right? But you have to also bear mind, what do you call that? You have to also bear in mind the consequences of keeping or making your event into a live tweet platform. As I said, you cannot control what everyone in the room is tweeting, right? You can't stop what if somebody in the
Worst
room
event
thinks,
ever.
if somebody in the room said this is like the worst session ever, that's it. But as I said, only that person's followers can feel.
Okay.